The silence inside the Grand Assembly Hall pressed down like a physical weight. David Grant had never felt so small in his entire life. Above him, around him, and stretching into what seemed like infinity, thousands of alien beings watched his every movement. Some had eyes. Others had sensors. A few simply knew he was there through methods humans had not yet discovered. He was the only human in a room built for giants. The journey here had taken 3 months. Earth's first real invitation to speak before the council. Everyone back home thought it was an honor. Grant knew better the moment he read the official summons. The language was too formal, too cold. This was not a welcome. This was a trial. High Arbiter Qualan rose from the central platform. The crystalline being refracted light in ways that hurt to look at directly. When it spoke, the words came not as sound but as pure meaning that every species understood simultaneously. Human representative. You stand before the collective wisdom of 847 civilizations. We have maintained peace in this galaxy for 12,000 years. Your species has been traveling among the stars for barely 2 centuries. Yet in that brief time, you have caused considerable concern. Grant said nothing. His military training had taught him when to speak and when to listen. This was a listening moment. Another delegate rose. This one resembled a floating mass of tentacles surrounding a central brain case. Humanity has claimed 23 star systems. You expand faster than any species we have observed. You refuse to follow proper colonization protocols. You trade without regard for established commercial treaties. A third voice joined in. Your vessels travel through restricted space corridors. You modify planets without council approval. You have rejected our offers of guidance 17 times. The accusations continued for hours. Grant stood and absorbed every word. His legs ached. His back screamed for relief. But he remained perfectly still, face neutral, hands clasped behind his back. He had stood at attention for longer periods during his years as a Marine. He could handle this. Finally, High Arbiter Quilon raised one crystalline appendage. The chamber fell silent. We did not invite you here to punish you, human. We invited you here to offer salvation. The galaxy is vast and dangerous. Young species often make fatal mistakes. The Council exists to prevent such tragedies. We offer you our protection. We offer you our wisdom. We offer you a place within the great family of civilized worlds. Grant waited. There was always a cost. Nothing in the universe came free. In exchange, you must accept certain limitations. All human military vessels will be decommissioned and replaced with Council-approved defense platforms. Human colonies will accept Council governors to ensure proper development. Human trade will be regulated to prevent market disruption. And most importantly, humanity will accept its place as a protected species under our guardianship. Protected species. Grant knew what that meant. He had read the histories. Species under Council protection never advanced beyond a certain level. They were kept safe, kept stable, and kept firmly under control. You have 1 solar cycle to provide your answer, Quilon continued. We are reasonable beings. We understand you need time to consult with your government. Grant shook his head. No consultation necessary. A ripple of confusion spread through the chamber. Several delegates leaned forward. Others activated translation devices, certain they had misunderstood. You claim to speak for your entire species? Quilon asked. This is a decision that will affect billions of humans across dozens of worlds. I speak for Earth's government. I carry full diplomatic authority. And I have my answer now. Quilon's crystalline body seemed to brighten. Excellent. Then humanity accepts our generous offer of protection. No. The single word echoed through the chamber. For a moment, nothing moved. No delegate spoke. No censor word. The entire assembly had frozen in disbelief. Clarify your statement, Quillan demanded. No, humanity rejects your offer. We reject your protection. We reject your guardianship. We will continue to explore, expand, and develop according to our own choices. We will trade with whom we please. We will settle where we choose. And we will answer to no authority except our own. The chamber erupted. Thousands of voices cried out in shock, anger, and confusion. Warning alarms sounded. Security protocols activated. Grant stood calmly in the center of the storm. High Arbiter Quillan's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. In 12,000 years, no species has refused Council protection. You do not understand what you are saying. You condemn your people to struggle without our guidance. You risk conflicts you cannot survive. You choose a path of unnecessary hardship. Grant met Quillan's gaze without flinching. Humanity has survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and near extinction more times than I can count. We did not survive by surrendering our freedom to anyone. We survived by adapting, by fighting, by refusing to give up no matter how dark things became. Then you choose to stand alone against the entire galaxy? We choose to stand free. If that means standing alone, so be it. Quillan's body pulsed with colors Grant had no names for. The Council will vote on this matter. I suspect you will not enjoy the results. This session is adjourned. As the delegates filed out, many cast hostile glances at Grant. A few looked curious. Fewer still looked impressed. Grant remained in place until the chamber emptied. Only then did he allow himself to breathe deeply. He had delivered humanity's message. One simple word that changed everything. Now came the hard part. Living with the consequences. News traveled fast across the galaxy. Within hours, every inhabited world knew what humanity had done. Most civilizations reacted with shock. A few laughed at human foolishness. Others simply waited to see what would happen next. David Grant sat in his quarters aboard the human diplomatic vessel Perseverance. His hands trembled slightly as he poured water into a glass. Not from fear. From adrenaline finally leaving his system. He had just committed humanity to a path that could lead to either greatness or extinction. A communication request flashed on his screen. Earth, specifically. Secretary General Patricia Morrison. Ambassador Grant, her face appeared, stern but not angry. I have received approximately 700 requests for your immediate recall. An equal number demanding your promotion. What exactly happened in that chamber? Grant took a sip of water. I told them no. Yes, I gathered that from the 17 million news broadcasts, currently analyzing your one-word speech. Care to elaborate? They wanted us to surrender our military, accept their governors, and become a protected species. In exchange, they promised safety and guidance. Grant set down his glass. It was a gilded cage. I refused. Morrison was quiet for a long moment. The Council has announced economic sanctions. No Council species may trade with human colonies. Our vessels are restricted from 70% of known space. And they are deploying an enforcement fleet to blockade our systems. I expected as much. Did you also expect that we would support your decision? Morrison leaned forward. Because we do. Every member of the Security Council voted unanimously. Humanity does not kneel. Not anymore. Not ever again. Grant felt tension he had not realized he was carrying release from his shoulders. Thank you. Do not thank me yet. We have a fight ahead of us. The Council has never faced real resistance before. They do not know how to handle it. That makes them dangerous. After the call ended, Grant pulled up files he had been studying for months. Records of Council history. Most of it was propaganda. Tales of peaceful cooperation and wise guidance. But Grant had learned to read between the lines. 12,000 years ago, The Council had formed after a devastating galactic war. The surviving species agreed to rules that would prevent future conflicts. Those rules made sense at first. Limitations on weapons development, protocols for colonization, standards for trade, but over time, the rules became chains. Species that joined the Council surrendered their independence. They were kept safe, but they were also kept weak. No member civilization had developed significant new technology in 8,000 years. Innovation was discouraged. Change was seen as dangerous. The Council had created peace by creating stagnation. A knock on his door pulled Grant from his thoughts. He opened it to find a young ensign. "Sir, you have a visitor. He claims to be a defector from the Drellian enforcement fleet." Grant raised an eyebrow. "Bring him to the secure meeting room. And keep weapons ready." 10 minutes later, Grant sat across from a crystalline being much smaller than High Arbiter Quillan. The creature's light patterns indicated nervousness. "My name is Talrin. I serve as a tactical observer aboard the Council flagship. I am here to warn you." "Warn me about what?" "The Council is not what it pretends to be. I have seen the classified files. 847 civilizations exist under Council protection. Do you know how many species have reached the stars in the last 12,000 years? Grant shook his head. 3,016. Talrin's colors shifted to dark blue. The Council identifies developing civilizations and makes them an offer of protection. Most accept. Those who refuse are subjected to economic warfare, military blockades, and eventual forced incorporation. Only twice has a species managed to resist long enough to remain independent. And those species? Extinct. Not by direct Council action, but by carefully arranged conflicts with other civilizations. Grant felt ice forming in his stomach. The Council manufactures wars. They maintain balance. They ensure no species grows strong enough to challenge their authority. Your humanity is the first species in 4,000 years to refuse their initial offer. The Council does not know how to handle you. Some want to negotiate. Others demand you be made an example. Which side are you on? Talrin's colors brightened to clear white. I am on the side of truth. I spent 200 years believing the Council protected the galaxy. Then I watched them destroy a species whose only crime was developing faster-than-light communication that worked better than our own. The Council labeled them dangerous. Within a decade, they no longer existed. Why tell me this? Because humanity reminds me of what my people once were. Bold, innovative, free. The Council took that from us gradually. We did not even notice until it was too late. You have a chance we never had. You can fight back before the chains are fully locked. Grant studied the alien carefully. What do you want in exchange for this information? Asylum, and a chance to help you survive what comes next. The Council will not negotiate. They will not compromise. They will try to break you. But they have a weakness, which is, they have forgotten how to fight an enemy who refuses to surrender. They have forgotten that some things are worth dying for. You humans remember. That terrifies them more than any weapon. Grant extended his hand. Talrin looked at it with confusion. Grant explained a human gesture of agreement. The crystalline being carefully touched Grant's palm with one appendage. Welcome to the Resistance, Grant said. Population, 1 human and 1 Drellian. The Council will not know what hit them. Talrin's colors rippled with what Grant recognized as laughter. You are either the bravest species in the galaxy, or the most insane. Grant smiled. In my experience, there is not much difference between the two. 3 weeks after humanity's refusal, Council warships surrounded every human colony. The blockade was thorough and professional. No ships in. No ships out. The Council expected panic, riots, and a quick surrender. They received none of those things. Governor Ann Foster watched the Council vessels from the observation deck of New Terra Colony. 23 massive warships hung in orbit like metal storm clouds. They had not fired a single shot. They did not need to. The message was clear: submit or starve. How long can we last? Her chief administrator asked. Ann did not look away from the window. The Council thinks we have supplies for 3 months. They do not know we have been preparing for this possibility since we first heard about their protection offers. How long do we actually have? With rationing and our emergency reserves? 18 months. Maybe 2 years if we get creative. The administrator looked shocked. You plan for a blockade? I plan for every scenario where someone tried to tell us how to live. That is what governments do. We hope for peace but prepare for everything else. Anne turned to face her team. 12 people who kept the colony running. Engineers, farmers, doctors, teachers. All of them looked worried, but none looked defeated. Here is what we are going to do. First, we implement emergency agriculture protocols. Every available space gets converted to food production. Rooftops, basements, unused warehouses. Second, we reduce energy consumption by 30%. Non-essential systems go dark. Third, we reach out to our sister colonies through tight beam communications the Council cannot intercept. We share resources and information. The Council will see this as preparation for war, someone warned. Let them. We are not preparing for war. We are preparing to survive. There is a difference. On the orbital station Defiance, Captain Rachel Ward ran simulations for the 100th time. Her ship was small compared to Council warships. 1 destroyer against an entire fleet. The math was not in her favor. Captain, we are receiving a transmission from the Council flagship, her communications officer reported. They want to speak with you directly. Rachel settled into her command chair. Put them through. A Drellian commander appeared on screen. Its crystalline structure was military grade, harder and more angular than civilian variants. Human vessel. You are in violation of Council Mandate 7. Surrender your ship and prepare to be escorted to a Council facility. Negative. This vessel operates under human authority. We do not recognize Council jurisdiction over our ships or our people. Then you will be disabled and taken by force. Rachel smiled. It was not a friendly expression. You are welcome to try. But I should warn you. This ship has been modified with technology from 17 different human conflicts. We have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We got pretty good at it. The Drellian commander's colors shifted to angry red. You cannot win against superior numbers. Winning is not the point. Making you regret the fight is. The transmission ended. Rachel turned to her crew. All hands battle stations. Power up defensive systems, but do not charge weapons. We do not fire first. But if they want a fight, we give them one they will remember. Back on Earth, Secretary General Morrison addressed the planet through every available broadcast channel. Billions of humans watched from homes, workplaces, and public screens. Citizens of Earth and all human colonies. The Galactic Council has chosen to punish us for refusing their protection. They have blockaded our worlds. They have cut off our trade. They expect us to panic and surrender. I am here to tell you why that will not happen. Morrison paused, letting her words sink in. Humanity has faced extinction dozens of times. Ice ages that lasted thousands of years. Plagues that killed half our population. Wars that nearly destroyed our civilization. Asteroids, volcanic eruptions, climate disasters. Each time we survived. Not because we were protected. Not because someone more powerful saved us. We survived because we adapted. We innovated. We refused to give up. Images flashed behind her. Historical moments of human resilience. Scientists working through the night, to develop vaccines. Engineers building impossible machines. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things when circumstances demanded it. The Council believes a blockade will break us. They are wrong. Our colonies have supplies. Our people have skills. And most importantly, we have something the Council lost 8,000 years ago. We have the will to determine our own destiny. We will not surrender our freedom for the promise of safety. We will not trade independence for comfort. We choose the hard path because it is the right path. Morrison leaned forward, her voice dropping to something more personal. To every human watching this, I ask you to trust in what we are. Trust in our ability to overcome. Trust in each other. The Council has numbers. They have technology. They have time. But we have something more valuable. We have hope. And hope is the most powerful force in the universe. The broadcast ended. Across human space, people went back to work. Farmers tended crops. Engineers maintained systems. Teachers educated children. Life continued with quiet determination. On a Council monitoring station, a junior analyst reviewed the data from human colonies. The report made no sense. Economic activity should have crashed. Instead, it was stable. Food production was increasing, not decreasing. Energy use had dropped, but in controlled ways that suggested planning rather than desperation. The analyst sent the report to their supervisor with a note: either our models are wrong, or humans are fundamentally different from every species we have studied. The supervisor read the report and added a second note before forwarding it to Council leadership. I suspect it is both. We may have made a serious miscalculation. High Arbiter Quolan received the report in the Grand Assembly Hall. After reading it twice, the crystalline being dimmed its light in what other species recognized as deep concern. For the first time in 12,000 years, the Galactic Council faced an enemy that fought by surviving. And survival was a game humans had mastered long before they reached the stars. 2 months into the blockade, the Council made their first major mistake. They destroyed an unmanned human mining station in the asteroid belt of the Kepler system. The explosion was visible from 3 colonies. No lives were lost, but the message was clear: comply or face consequences. The Council expected fear. Instead, they got documentation out within 6 hours. Every human colony had broadcast images of the destroyed station across the galaxy. Not with angry demands for justice. Not with threats of retaliation. Simply clear footage of what the Council had done. Accompanied by a single statement: this is what protection looks like. The response surprised everyone, including humans. 40-7 non-Council species sent messages of support. 19 Council member civilizations lodged formal protests against the destruction. And most importantly, trade routes that officially closed to human vessels began reopening through unofficial channels. A merchant captain named Liu Chun discovered this by accident. Her cargo ship carried medical supplies, desperately needed on New Terra. She approached the blockade expecting to be turned away or arrested. Instead, a Varelian Council vessel sent her encrypted coordinates for a gap in the patrol pattern. "Why help us?" Liu asked over the communication channel. The Varelian captain replied in broken English, having clearly studied the language specifically for this conversation. "Because Council destroys station today. Tomorrow, Council destroys something else. Where does it end? Better to trade with honest humans than obey dishonest rules." Liu made her delivery. Word spread quickly. Other captains tested other blockade points. More gaps appeared. The Council's perfect siege developed cracks. High Arbiter Quailan called an emergency session. The Grand Assembly Hall filled with angry delegates demanding to know why the blockade was failing. "The human colony should be suffering," one delegate shouted. "Instead, they are receiving supplies. How is this possible?" A military commander provided the answer. 43 council species are violating the blockade. When we confront them, they claim navigational errors or emergency situations. We cannot arrest them all without causing a larger crisis. Hualan's crystalline body pulsed with frustrated colors. Then we escalate. I propose a complete military occupation of human space. We place our forces on their colonies. We take direct control. No more waiting for surrender. We impose it. The proposal went to a vote. For the first time in Council history, a major military action failed to achieve majority support. The vote was close. 421 in favor, 426 against. Humanity had divided the Council. David Grant watched the vote results from his quarters. Talron stood beside him, colors shifting with complex emotions. Your species has accomplished something remarkable, Talron said. The Council has not been divided on a major vote in 3,000 years. We accomplished it by refusing to back down. By showing we would rather struggle free than live comfortable in chains. Grant pulled up a map of human space. But this is just the beginning. The Council will try something else. Something more extreme. What can be more extreme than military occupation? Grant pointed at Earth on the display. There are weapons the Council has not used in 8,000 years. Planet killers. Weapons so destructive, they were banned by every civilized species. But the Council kept them. Just in case. Talron's light dimmed to near darkness. They would not. Using such weapons would destroy their moral authority. Their moral authority is already damaged. If they are desperate enough, they might decide an example needs to be made. What will humanity do if they threaten Earth itself? Grant was quiet for a long moment. We will do what we always do. We will refuse to give up. We will protect our home. And we will make them regret forcing our hand. On New Terra, Governor Ann Foster received an unexpected visitor. A delegation from the Krullian Empire, a species that had been part of the Council for 6,000 years. They came in secret, using the same unofficial routes as the supply ships. Governor Foster, the lead Krullian began. We must speak with you about a matter of great importance. Anne invited them to her office. 5 Krullian officials sat across from her, their tentacles nervously coiling and uncoiling. Our people have watched humanity's resistance with great interest. We see in you something we lost long ago. The courage to say no to authority. Is that why you are here? To tell us you admire our courage? We are here to offer assistance, not military support. We cannot risk open conflict with the Council, but we can provide information, technical data, Council security protocols, things that might prove useful. Anne studied them carefully. What do you want in return? Nothing, except perhaps a promise. If humanity survives this, if you succeed in changing the Council, remember that some species helped you. Remember that we believed in your cause even when we could not fight openly beside you. And if we fail? The lead Krullian's tentacles drooped. Then we return to our comfortable chains and pretend we never hoped for something better. Anne extended her hand across the desk. Humanity does not forget its friends. You have our promise. The Krullian gently touched her hand with one tentacle, sealing the agreement. Across human space, similar meetings occurred. Species that had lived under Council protection for thousands of years began questioning the system. Not openly, not in ways that would bring punishment, but in quiet conversations, in encrypted messages, in secret gatherings. A revolution of thought began. Humanity had not fired a shot. They had not won a battle. They had simply refused to surrender. And that refusal was more dangerous to the Council than any weapon. High Arbiter Kulan understood this. In the privacy of the Council's inner chamber, surrounded only by the most senior delegates, the crystalline being finally admitted the truth. We are losing control. Not through military defeat. Through inspiration. Other species are beginning to ask questions we banned long ago. Questions about freedom. About choice. About whether protection is worth the price we charge. Another senior delegate spoke. Then we must act decisively. We must show the galaxy what happens to those who defy us. We must make an example that will be remembered for 10,000 years. Hualan's light pulsed with a color that meant grim determination. Activate the Omega Protocol. Target Earth. Humanity will surrender, or humanity will serve as a warning to every species that dares dream of independence. The alert reached Earth at 0347 hours. Every military installation, every government facility, every emergency system activated simultaneously. The message was simple and terrifying. Ancient weapon system detected. Classification: Planet Killer. Target: Earth. Time to firing: 12 hours. Secretary General Morrison stood in the Emergency Command Center, staring at the display that showed her world and the massive weapon platform powering up in deep space. Around her, military commanders shouted orders, scientists proposed solutions, and evacuation coordinators tried to calculate impossible numbers. How many can we evacuate? Morrison asked. General Howard Roberts answered, his voice hollow. With 12 hours? Maybe 40 million. Earth has 11 billion people. Then we need another option. There is no other option. That weapon was designed to sterilize entire planets. Our defensive systems cannot stop it. Our weapons cannot reach it. We have exactly one choice: surrender or die. Morrison turned away from the display. Get me Ambassador Grant, and get me an open channel to the Council. If they want to murder 11 billion people, they will do it while looking us in the eyes. In orbit, Captain Rachel Ward received the same alert. Her ship, the Defiance, was still locked in its position near the Council blockade fleet. She called her senior officers to the bridge. You all know what is about to happen. Earth has 12 hours before the Council fires a weapon that will kill everything on the planet. Command has authorized us to break orbit and return home, to be with our families in the final hours. Her crew looked at each other. Then her first officer spoke. With respect, Captain, that is not what we signed up for. We joined the fleet to protect Earth. Running away at the end does not feel like protection. Rachel felt pride mixing with grief. What are you suggesting? The weapon platform is in Sector 772. Between us and Earth, we put ourselves in the firing path. That will not stop the weapon. It will go right through us. Maybe, but we will die protecting our home instead of running from what scares us. That has to mean something. Rachel looked at each crew member. 23 people who had become family during their months in space. Every single one nodded agreement. All right. Set course for Sector 772. Flank speed. And broadcast our intentions on all channels. Let the galaxy see what humanity looks like when facing death. The Defiance broke formation and accelerated toward the weapon platform. Within minutes, 17 other human vessels changed course to join them. Cargo ships, science vessels, even a civilian transport. None of them had weapons that could damage the platform. But they went anyway. David Grant received Morrison's call while already preparing to address the Council. Talron stood beside him, the Drellion's colors cycling through patterns Grant had learned meant profound distress. They have gone insane, Talron said. Using the Omega weapon will destroy the Council's credibility. Every species will see them as monsters. They are gambling that fear will overcome disgust. That other species will look at Earth's fate and decide submission is better than annihilation. Grant straightened his uniform. Time to prove them wrong. The Council chamber filled quickly. Every delegate had been summoned. The broadcast was going to every world in the galaxy. This was meant to be humanity's final moment. A lesson in the cost of defiance. High Arbiter Quailan stood at the center platform. Ambassador Grant, your species has one final chance to surrender. Acknowledge Council authority. Accept our protection. Or watch your homeworld burn. Grant walked to the speaking position. He did not hurry. He did not show fear. When he spoke, his voice was calm and clear. High Arbiter, members of the Council, you have activated a weapon banned by every civilized species. You plan to murder 11 billion people. And you call this protection. We call it necessity. We call it the price of defiance. You call it that because you have forgotten what words mean. Protection does not mean obedience. Safety does not require surrender. For 12,000 years, you have ruled through fear disguised as wisdom. Today, you remove the disguise. Quailan's crystalline body flashed angry red. Empty words from a dead man representing a dead world. Perhaps. But those empty words will outlive your authority. Because every species watching this broadcast now sees the truth. The Council does not protect the weak. It destroys anyone who threatens its power. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Several delegates looked uncomfortable. Others nodded slowly. Grant continued. You can destroy Earth. You can kill every human in our home system. But you cannot kill what we represent. The idea that freedom is worth dying for. The belief that some chains should be broken, no matter the cost. You can silence our voices, but the echo will remain. Philosophy will not save you. No, but it will save them. Grant gestured to the assembled delegates. How many of you have questioned the Council privately? How many have wondered if protection is worth what you have surrendered? How many have looked at humanity's defiance and felt something you thought you had forgotten? The chamber fell silent. Grant could see it in their faces, their colors, their energy patterns. Doubt, the most dangerous weapon against any tyranny. Humanity's answer remains no. We will not surrender. We will not kneel. If you want to make us an example, go ahead. But understand what you are teaching. You are teaching every species in this galaxy that the Council maintains power through mass murder. That you would rather destroy a civilization than allow it to be free. Across the galaxy, billions watched. On Earth, people gathered in streets, homes, and shelters. They watched their ambassador stand alone before the entire Council. They watched him refuse to beg, refuse to surrender, refuse to show anything except defiance. Secretary General Morrison watched from Earth's command center. Tears ran down her face, but her voice was steady when she spoke. That is humanity. That is who we are. Even at the end, the weapon platform reached full power. Energy readings spiked. The firing sequence initiated, and in that moment, something unexpected happened. 732 Council vessels changed position. They moved between the weapon platform and Earth, not attacking, not defending, simply standing in the way. High Arbiter Quailan's crystalline body went completely dark in shock. What are you doing? One delegate stood. Then another. Then dozens. Then hundreds. They spoke in unison, every species, every voice. No, High Arbiter. Quailan stared at the display showing hundreds of Council vessels positioned between the weapon platform and Earth. The crystalline being's light flickered with patterns no species had seen before. Confusion mixed with disbelief, mixed with the first taste of genuine fear. Stand down immediately, Quailan commanded. You are violating direct orders from Council leadership. The reply came from a Varelian captain. We are following Council law. Section 47, Article 12. No member species shall engage in genocide. You are attempting to murder 11 billion sentient beings. We cannot allow this. More voices joined. Drellian commanders. Krellian fleet leaders. Species that had followed Council orders without question for thousands of years. all of them refusing the one order that mattered most. "You do not understand what you are doing," Quolan said, but the crystalline being's voice had lost its certainty. "The humans must be stopped. They threaten everything we have built." A delegate stood in the assembly hall. An elderly being from the Tessarian collective, a species that had been part of the council since its founding. "What have we built, High Arbiter? Peace through oppression? Safety through fear? I have served the council for 400 years. I believed we were protecting the galaxy. Today, I see we have been protecting only ourselves." Another delegate rose. "The humans showed us something we forgot. That freedom has value. That some prices are too high to pay, even for security." Quolan looked around the chamber. Centuries of absolute authority crumbling in moments. "If we back down now, the council loses all credibility. Other species will see weakness. They will rebel. Everything we built will collapse." "Then let it collapse," the Tessarian delegate said quietly. "Better to fall with honor than stand as murderers." On Earth, Secretary General Morrison watched the screens with trembling hands. The weapon platform was still powered. The countdown continued. But hundreds of ships stood in the path. Not attacking. Not threatening. Simply refusing to move. "They are protecting us," General Roberts said, voice filled with wonder. "The Council fleet is protecting us from their own weapon." Morrison grabbed the communications console. "Get me a channel to those ships. All of them." When the connection established, she spoke words she never expected to say. "This is Earth. To all Council vessels in defensive positions. You do not have to do this. You do not have to die for us." A Krellian captain responded. "With respect, Secretary General, you are wrong. We do have to do this. Not for you. For ourselves. For what we should have been all along." In the council chamber, David Grant watched the delegates arguing among themselves. 12,000 years of unity shattering like glass. Tauren stood beside him, colors brighter than Grant had ever seen. "You did it," Tauren whispered. "You broke the council. We did not break it. We showed it was already broken. The cracks were always there. We just stopped pretending they did not exist." High Arbiter Quolan made one final attempt to maintain control. "This is treason. Every ship that refuses orders will be marked as hostile. Every delegate who supports them will lose their position. I will hold this council together, even if I must do it alone." "You already are alone," Grant said, walking forward. "Look around. Your delegates are not listening. Your fleet is not following orders. You built your power on the agreement of others. The moment they stopped agreeing, your power ended." Quolan turned to face Grant directly. "And what do humans propose? Chaos? Anarchy? Do you truly believe 847 species can coexist without central authority?" "No, I believe they can coexist with better authority. Not authority based on fear and control. Authority based on cooperation and choice. Some species will make mistakes. Some will fail. That is the price of freedom. But it is a price worth paying." The chamber fell silent. Every delegate waited to see what would happen next. On the displays, the weapon platform's countdown reached its final minute. The energy levels peaked. The firing sequence entered its last stage dot, and High Arbiter Quolan went completely dark. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the crystalline being's light returned, dim, tired, defeated. "Abort the firing sequence," Quolan said quietly. "High Arbiter?" a military commander asked. "Are you certain?" "I said abort the sequence. Power down the weapon. Stand down all forces. The blockade is ended." The countdown stopped with 17 seconds remaining. Across human space, across the galaxy, billions released breaths they had been holding. Quolan looked at Grant. "You won, human. Not through strength. Not through weapons. Through the simple act of refusing to surrender. I do not know if that makes you wise or foolish. It makes us human, Grant replied. That is enough. Over the following months, the Galactic Council underwent changes that would have been unthinkable a year earlier. High Arbiter Quillan resigned. New leadership formed, not from a single voice but from a rotating council of equals. The laws changed. The restrictions eased. Species began developing technology that had been forbidden for thousands of years, that not every species celebrated. Some feared the changes. Others struggled with sudden freedom after millennia of guidance. There were conflicts. There were failures. The galaxy became messier, louder, and far less predictable. It also became more alive. David Grant stood on Earth, watching the sunset over the Pacific Ocean. Rachel Ward stood beside him, her ship finally home after months in space. Governor Ann Foster had traveled from New Terra to attend the ceremony celebrating the new galactic charter. Do you think it will last? Rachel asked. The new council? The cooperation between species? Honestly, I have no idea, Grant admitted. Humans have been trying to figure out how to live together for thousands of years. We still get it wrong most of the time. Adding 846 other species to the mix is not going to make it easier. Then why fight for it? Grant smiled. Because the alternative is worse. Living in a cage, even a comfortable one, is not living. It is just existing. Humanity learned that lesson the hard way many times. Now we get to share that lesson with the galaxy. And step forward. The new council wants Earth to join officially. Full membership. Equal voice. What did you tell them? I told them we would consider it. On our terms. No surrender of sovereignty. No accepting protection we do not need. We join as equals or we do not join at all. Rachel laughed. Still saying no. Not exactly, Anne corrected. We are saying yes to cooperation. But we are also saying no to control. It turns out you can do both. Across the galaxy, a new era began. Not perfect, not peaceful, but free. Species that had been silent for thousands of years found their voices. Technologies advanced. Cultures mixed. Conflicts arose and were resolved without central authority forcing solutions. Humanity took its place among the stars. Not as conquerors, not as saviors, simply as one species among many, contributing their perspective to the endless conversation of galactic civilization. And if someone asked what humanity brought to that conversation, the answer was simple.